Blog Talk Radio.
Hey there, Tigers fans, and welcome to this week's Tigers edition on Taylor's Detroit Sports Show on Blog Talk Radio. I'm Taylor Phillips, and the number to call to voice your opinion or be a guest or a co-host is 646-478-4837. Find me on Facebook, YouTube, Google, and Pinterest as Taylor Phillips. Like my Facebook page, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page, and join my Facebook group, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports Group, to become a more educated Detroit sports fan. And follow me on Twitter. Also a positive Detroit sports fan, too, if you like. Follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at DT2Phillips. There's also a chat window on blogtalkradio.com on all my episodes of Taylor's Detroit Sports Show for you to comment with your opinions. I still want to give out the guidelines, though. If you have called in, stay on the line, please. If you hang up, no big deal. Just redial the number 646-478-4837 and then stay on the line. You'll have 30 minutes to do so. Keep it very clean. I know you're very excited about tonight's Fenway sweep, but keep it very clean and treat the show with respect. If you don't know much about the Tigers or any Detroit sports, you can still just listen. And only I can change the topics because I'm the head host of the show. Week in review. We're going to get to the Orioles series first. Tigers started a 3-game series inside Oriole Park at Camden Yards against the first-place Baltimore Orioles in the AL East. The game started with a 30-minute rain delay, but after that, Rick Porcello pitched 6 great innings before feeling a little tightness in his side, which wasn't serious, and got the win. There was still not much offense produced, but the big Ian Kinsler 2-run home run with 2 outs in the 8th inning sealed it. And that's when Orioles starting pitcher Bud Norris boiled over and hit Torrey Hunter with the pitch and got ejected, while Torrey Hunter kept jawing off at him, and the dugouts and bullpens cleared to separate them. Miguel Cabrera opened the scoring with an RBI single and scored on a sacrifice fly by Austin Jackson earlier in that contest. The bullpen, like I said they would, rebounded nicely after a rough outing at home against the Twins a week ago today. And Joe Nathan got the save. Ian Kroll made a big hold with 2 outs and a man on third after giving up a double. And Al Albuquerque and Nathan both pitched 1, 2, 3 innings. The Tigers went on to win that one 4-1 on Monday. Tuesday at the Baltimore Orioles, I thought that despite giving up, Tigers win 4-1 again on Tuesday. I thought that despite giving up only the 1 run, Smiley struggled to get batters out, and therefore his pitch count mounted really fast. There was also one point in the game where offensively in the top of the 4th inning, Miguel Cabrera got a horrible jump trying to steal second base on what looked to be a hit and run situation, and Victor Martinez swung and missed on a pitch well out of the strike zone on a 3-2 count when he had no chance whatsoever of hitting that ball, and they threw Cabrera out at second to complete a strikeout throwout double play. If I were Victor in that exact predicament, I would have taken that walk at that point unless the pitch ended up somewhere in the strike zone. Or at least I would have kept a better eye on the ball. Also in the top of the 7th inning, there was a pitch in the dirt that didn't go too far, but Torrey Hunter went for third anyway and got thrown out by a mile. So at least one base running mistake right there. Hunter has made tons of clumsy mistakes last year and this year thus far, which the team cannot afford. They seriously need him to cut back on those boneheaded mistakes, whether it's in the outfield defensively or on the base paths on offense. Justin Miller got out of the same jam that Ian Kroll got out of the night before in that same 7th inning with a man on third and 2 outs to keep the game close. But in the top of the 9th, the Tigers weren't dead yet. Alex Avila hit a leadoff single the other way, and then Rajai Davis pinch ran for him and stole second with nobody out. But then pinch runner Don Kelly hit a soft line drive right to short for out number 1, and then Ian Kinsler flew out to center field for the second out, which meant the Orioles were 1 out away from evening the series at a game apiece. But Torrey Hunter drew a key walk after falling behind in the count 1-2, and then Miguel Cabrera hit a monster 3-run home run to put the Tigers up 3-1, and finally Victor Martinez sealed it with a solo blast down the right field line over that right field monster wall, making it 4-1. And that's how it stood, because Joe Nathan nailed it down with a 4-6-3 ground ball double play induction after giving up a 1-out single to earn his 9th save on the year. In addition, reliever Justin Miller got his first major league win, pitching 2 full innings and giving up only 1 hit, no walks, and no strikeouts. He's 1-0 and back on track. But since then, he hasn't pitched at all. He hasn't thrown 1 pitch. Moving on to Wednesday's game. The series finale in Baltimore, Maryland. Tigers win 7-5. Miguel Cabrera started the scoring with a 2-run single in the 3rd inning, and then in the 4th inning, the low lineup spot batters did a little work of their own. Brian Holliday hit an RBI single, and then Danny Worth got an RBI suicide/safety squeeze bunt single. And then finally, Rajai Davis got an RBI sacrifice fly scoring Holliday, which made it 5-0. Don Kelly would add another run with an RBI single in the 5th. Justin Verlander cruised through the first 4 innings, but then gave up 5 runs, all with 2 outs, capped off by a Nelson Cruz 3-run home run. Verlander would settle back down and finish the 5th and 6th innings, but that was all caused by a bad call by the home plate umpire. There were more than one bad ball call against the Tigers pitching that day, as there were lately, and it's irritating to Tigers fans and to me as well. Rajai Davis would cover Verlander's back with a solo home run in the 6th to make it 7-5 Tigers, and that was it. The bullpen looked a little shaky, but they still held on without giving up a run. Jabba Chamberlain got out of a jam, and Joe Nathan almost pitched a 1-2-3 inning, but still got out of it, despite another bad ball call by the umpire. They had Thursday off, so on to the Fenway series against the Red Sox. Tigers won the first game, 1-0. There was a scoring chance in the top of the 1st when Torrey Hunter singled home a run, and then the bases were reloaded on an Austin Jackson walk with 2 outs for Alex Avila, who had a 3-0 count and struck out after looking at 2 straight strikes when he could have swung the bat for at least another RBI. But Max Scherzer was terrific as usual, going 6 innings and change, and the bullpen won out as well, as Evan Reed, Ian Kroll, Jabba Chamberlain, and Joe Nathan nailed it down for the win. Now, the save was Joe Nathan's 10th on the year. Moving on to Saturday, Tigers win 6-1. Rick Porcello was amazing, other than giving up the leadoff homer to a red-hot bat in the hands of Xander Bogaerts in the 5th inning. He went 8 innings, gave up 6 hits, walked 1, and struck out 4. to cap off the rest of his final line. The Tigers chased John Lackey by tacking him on with 6 runs, 5 of them earned in 5 1/3 innings. Lackey at one point made a very poor pickoff throw that almost hit the second base umpire in the head because the second baseman, Dustin Pedroia, never covered the bag with Rajai Davis on. And that proved costly. Shortstop Andrew Romine took the golden sombrero and bobbled a ground ball at one point, which was scored a hit. Phil Koch put the bow on the Christmas present with another scoreless inning. Bravo. Despite giving up another leadoff single, that one to Mike Napoli. Moving on to Sunday's game. Tigers win 6-2 to complete the sweep. Here's how. Anibal Sanchez pitched a decent 5 innings and just barely got out of a jam in the 5th inning with the bases loaded and one out. Don Kelly made a throwing error at home that Avila, I still thought, should have had. I think Avila might have held onto the ball in his glove long enough for the force at home for out number 2, and I think that should have been challenged by Brad Ausmus. Just so people know, but Sanchez got a line drive that he caught and doubled up the runner at third to get out of the jam. Big play there. Big twin killing. The Tigers' offense struck again, this time against Jake Peavy, who lost his cool. Miguel Cabrera hit an RBI double and an RBI single. Victor Martinez hit a game-winning 2-run homer to right field in the 3rd inning, but went 1 for 5. Torrey Hunter went 2 for 5 with a solo blast over the Green Monster seats to seal the win offensively. He took Junichi Tazawa, their setup man, way deep in that 7th inning. My opinion column. The home plate umpires have been making a lot of bad calls lately in terms of balls and strikes, and I've had enough of the arguing over balls and strikes since it cannot ever be challenged, by managers, by Major League Baseball managers. I recommend Major League Baseball, the Players Association, and the Board of Governors to invent and recommend the umpires to use a handheld K-zone detection device. How they will use it is to track each current pitch behind the catcher physically, and when they detect each pitch when it comes home, and then when that pitch ends up somewhere in the strike zone, or take a close pitch, for example. If the umpire doesn't know if it's a ball or a strike, he immediately checks the K-zone device and tells whether it's a ball or a strike. If it's like on the line, for example, on the very edge of the corner, that's still a strike, and the umpire has to make that call. In fact, that's a rule. That should be a rule. And the device's buzzer will go off just to cap things off, and the radar will show exactly where it ended up. A strike, for example. I also think that Danny Wirth should be the starting shortstop until the Tigers can make a deal with Stephen Drew before Jose Iglesias can return for the 2014 MLB postseason, because Andrew Romine cannot hit and cannot field. Well, he fielded just fine tonight, but he finished 0 for 8 in the series against the Red Sox, and that just can't be good for him. That's what you can't have. He took a golden sombrero Sunday and bobbled a routine ground ball, which was obviously scored as a hit, like I mentioned before, when it should have been an error. The Tigers also usually don't produce much offense at Fenway Park, but they managed to produce 6 runs each last night and tonight, and hold the Red Sox to 3 runs total in the series. 1 run last night and 2 more, just 2 more tonight. Thanks in large part to Rick Porcello, Anibal Sanchez, Max Scherzer, and the bullpen, the defending AL Cy Young winner. Looking ahead, the Tigers end their road trip with a 3-game series at Progressive Field against the Cleveland Indians, as Drew Smyly gets his first start, gets his sixth start, 2-2, 2.70 ERA against Corey Kluber, 4-3 with a 3.38 ERA. And then Justin Verlander will take on Bauer, who is 0 for 1 with a 1.5 ERA. Trevor Bauer. Then it'll be Max Scherzer against Zach McAllister, who is 3-1, 3-4. My mistake. 3-4 with a 5.36 ERA. The Indians got dominated by the Athletics 11-1 Friday and 13-3 earlier today. Maybe the Athletics had too much offense, but the Indians pitching really struggled. Pretty sure Mario and Pemba and Rod Allen and Dan Dickerson and Jim Price will all give you the scouting reports over the public radio and television airwaves. And then the Tigers return home for a 4-game series against the Texas Rangers before heading out west, taking on the Athletics. I'll preview that series next week. But for the Texas Rangers series, Robbie Ray will start on Thursday in place of Rick Porcello, who was pushed back to Saturday with a little soreness in his side. Robbie Ray will take on Yu Darvish, who has a 3-2 record and a 2.32 ERA. Robbie Ray now has a 0.75 ERA. Should be an interesting matchup for Thursday. That's at 1:08. Back to the Indian series. The first 2 games start at 7:05, and the Wednesday game starts at 12:05. I just mentioned Thursday's game start time, 1:08. Then apparently Anibal Sanchez will take the mound against Ross Jr., 1-4, 4.78 ERA. Is his real name Robbie Ross Jr.? Friday's game at 7:08. And then Rick Porcello will take the mound at 4:08 on Saturday. That's going to be on Fox Sports 1. And then on Sunday, starting pitching matchups to be determined. That's going to be at 1:08. Yep, it is Robbie Ross Jr. Robbie Ross Jr. and Robbie Ray. How about that? About 9 minutes left on the show. If you want to call in to voice your opinion or be a guest, call in at 646-478-4837. This is the Tigers edition of Taylor's Detroit Sports Show. Taking a look at the standings right now, the Boston Red Sox are 20-23, but first the Tigers, 27-12, 7 games ahead of the Royals in the AL Central, 22-21. Twins 21-21. White Sox 21-24, and the Indians 19-25, 10.5 back. I think the Tigers should have very little trouble with the Cleveland Indians at Progressive Field. Although the Indians can be resilient at home at times, the Tigers swept both road series with the Indians last season, and they look to do it again here this season. The Athletics of Oakland are 28-16. They're a pretty good team, no doubt. Texas Rangers, however, are 21-23 in 4th place, 7 flat games back. I want to keep an early eye on the Oakland Athletics because there's a series at O.CO Coliseum coming up starting a week from tomorrow. Tigers ousted the Athletics in 2 straight American League Division Series. Both in 5 games. The Athletics have way too much offense, like I said. I want to take a look at the Oakland-Cleveland score from Saturday. But while I wait for that to load, other Detroit sports updates. The Pistons have agreed with Stan Van Gundy on a 5-year, $35 million deal to become the new head coach and president of basketball operations. I think Van Gundy should have been picked up by the Pistons 5 or 6 years ago, because he is one of the best coaches in the NBA right now. Even though he has never won an NBA title, he's gotten very far in a few of his playoff appearances as of late. Got fired by the Magic in 2012 and became a broadcaster since then, but he's back on the bench, folks. For us, the Pistons. And I think the Pistons are headed in the right direction with him, even though he has no experience as a president of basketball operations or a general manager. He's not officially their general manager technically, so they still have to find a general manager. The Orioles are now in 2nd place, after having some trouble with the Royals at Kauffman Stadium, 22-20. Just a half game back behind the usual first place New York Yankees at 23-20. The Tampa Bay Rays are 19-26. Exactly the second worst record in the American League. I assume the Athletics swept the Indians at Progressive Field. Oh, there they are. Yep, they swept them. The A's won the Saturday game in Cleveland 6-2. They won the Friday game 11-1, of course, and the Sunday game 13-3. They outscored the Indians 30-6. 30-6. The A's have produced at least a little more offense than the Tigers have this year, but and the A's have the best record in the American League, but the Tigers are still well in first place in the American League Central Division. Should be an interesting series a week from tomorrow, but we got to focus on the Indians and the Rangers at home. With all that being said, that's going to wrap it up for this week's Tigers edition of Taylor's Detroit Sports Show. I have another one that is coming up Sunday at 11. I had to delay this one until midnight because of the game being taking place tonight instead of earlier today in the afternoon. The game had to be televised on ESPN at 8:05, the rematch of the 2013 ALCS, the American League Championship Series, when the Red Sox won the series in 6 games and went on to win the World Series in 6 games against the St. Louis Cardinals. So again, that's going to wrap it up. I'll be back Sunday at 11. So until then, TTFN, ta-ta for now.